There are warnings people repeat because they sound old, and warnings people repeat because someone they loved did not come back to explain them. This one belongs to the second kind. Welcome back to Midnight Echo Radio. I'm Seraphine Corven. Tonight's story begins on a mountain road where the guardrails were wet, the trees leaned close, and an old service tunnel waited with its lights still burning. If you ever drive through a tunnel and someone in the car jokes about counting heads, do not laugh too quickly. Count before you enter. Count after you leave. And if the number is wrong, do not turn around. There were 5 of us when we left the diner. I know that because Mara made a whole ceremony of it. She had a way of making even ordinary things feel like dares. She slapped the roof of Evan's old Subaru twice, leaned into the open passenger window, and said, "Roll call." Evan was driving. Mara had shotgun. I was behind her. Jonah sat in the middle of the back seat, knees pressed up because he was too tall for the car. Kellen sat behind Evan, still eating fries from a paper bag that had gone transparent with grease. 5. It was just after midnight, the kind of hour where small towns go so quiet they feel staged. We had stopped at Braddock's Diner because it was the last place open before the pass. The plan was simple. Take the long way home after Mara's birthday, drive the Ridge Road, scare ourselves a little, and come down on the north side before 2. The waitress heard us arguing about the route. She was wiping the counter with a rag that looked older than any of us. When Evan mentioned the service tunnel, her hand stopped moving. "You don't need that road," she said. Mara smiled at her. "Is it closed?" "No." That was all she said at first. Then she looked at each of us. Not like she was counting customers, but like she was trying to memorize the arrangement. "There are 2 tunnels under Bellwether Mountain," she said. "The highway tunnel is fine. Take that. The service tunnel is for maintenance crews and people who think stories are decorations." Jonah laughed, because Jonah laughed whenever he was nervous. "What story?" The waitress folded the rag once, very carefully. "You count before you go in," she said. "You count when you come out. If the number changed, keep driving until sunrise." Mara asked what happened if you went back. The waitress looked past us, out the diner window, toward the black line of the mountain. "Then the tunnel gets to correct the mistake." That should have been enough. It was not. 10 minutes later, we were on the Ridge Road, rain sliding sideways through the headlights, tires hissing over wet asphalt. The highway was behind us. The diner was gone. The only lights were the dash, the road reflectors, and the occasional pale sign that warned of falling rock. Evan kept saying the service tunnel would shave 20 minutes off the drive. Mara kept pretending she did not care, which meant she cared very much. Jonah was reading search results on his phone, losing signal every few seconds. Kellen, from behind Evan, said, "Do we actually count?" Mara twisted around in her seat. "Obviously." I remember the exact sound of her voice. Bright, teasing, alive. 1, Evan said. 2, Mara said. 3, I said. 4, Jonah said. Kellen lifted a fry like a toast. 5. Then we saw the tunnel. It was not marked on the GPS. The map showed a straight gray line through the mountain, but no label, no service road name, no warning. In real life, the entrance sat below a concrete retaining wall, streaked black with water. Pine branches scraped the top edge of the arch. A row of old yellow lights ran into the dark, each one smaller than the last. The mouth of it looked too low. Not physically, the Subaru fit. It looked low in the way a ceiling looks low in a dream, when you know you can walk under it, but part of you expects to feel plaster against your hair. Evan slowed. For a second, nobody said anything. Then Mara whispered, "Do it." We entered. The sound changed immediately. Rain vanished. The tires became louder. Every little thing inside the car grew separate and important. The click of the blinker Evan had forgotten to turn off. Kellen crumpling the fry bag. Jonah breathing through his nose. The old heater pushing lukewarm air against our ankles. The tunnel lights passed over us, one at a time. Yellow, dark, yellow, dark. The walls were tiled in old white ceramic, but most of the tiles had browned with mineral stains. Maintenance alcoves appeared every 100 feet, shallow black rectangles with rusted ladders mounted inside. Numbers were painted above them. 12, 11, 10. We were counting down without meaning to. At alcove 8, my ears popped. At alcove 7, Jonah said, "Anyone else smell lake water?" At alcove 6, Kellen stopped chewing. At alcove 5, Mara reached back and squeezed my knee hard enough to hurt. Then we were out. Rain hit the windshield again all at once. Evan exhaled and laughed too loudly. "Okay," he said. "Roll call." "1," he said. "2," Mara said. "3," I said. "4," Jonah said. No one said 5. Kellen's seat was empty. The paper fry bag sat on the floor behind Evan, folded neatly, as if someone had placed it there with both hands. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Then Mara screamed his name. Evan slammed the brakes so hard my shoulder hit the seat in front of me. The car skidded toward the guardrail, caught itself, and stopped at an angle in the road. Mara was already clawing at her seatbelt. I looked behind us. The tunnel mouth was still there, yellow lights receding into black. Kellen was not on the road. He was not running behind us. There was no silhouette in the entrance, no hand waving, no shape in the rain. Just the tunnel. And the awful certainty that it had closed around something we had carried inside. "We go back," Mara said. "No," I said. And I do not know why I said it so fast. Maybe because I heard the waitress again. If the number changed, keep driving until sunrise. Mara turned on me with a face I had never seen on her before. "He's in there!" Jonah was shaking his head, phone held up uselessly. "There's no service." Evan stared at Kellen's empty seat in the rearview mirror. Then something moved in the tunnel entrance. Not Kellen. A person. A figure stepped into the edge of the headlights, just far enough for us to see the outline. Tall, hood up, one arm lifted. Mara whispered, "Kel?" The figure waved. Kellen's jacket was red. This jacket was dark. Kellen had been wearing white sneakers. This person's feet were bare. The figure took one step forward, and Jonah said, very softly, "Drive." Mara shouted at him. The figure lowered its hand. Evan put the car in gear. Mara grabbed the wheel. For one terrifying second, the Subaru lurched sideways, headlights swinging across trees, guardrail, tunnel, trees again. Evan yelled. I grabbed Mara's shoulders from behind. Jonah grabbed her wrist. And the figure at the tunnel entrance began to run toward us. Not fast at first, patiently, like it knew the road was longer for us than for it. Evan punched the gas. The Subaru tore down the ridge road, engine whining, rain hammering the roof. Mara was sobbing now, not words, just broken sounds. Jonah kept looking back through the rear windshield. I counted without meaning to. Evan, Mara, me, Jonah. 4, 4, 4. We drove for maybe 8 minutes before the road curved and the mountain opened into a small turnout. Evan pulled over because Mara was trying to unbuckle again, and because none of us could breathe. That was when Jonah said, "Who's Kellen?" No one answered. He looked genuinely confused. His face was wet with sweat. "You keep saying Kellen. Who is that?" Mara went silent. I said, "Don't." Jonah looked from me to her. "I'm serious." Evan turned around in the driver's seat. "He was sitting next to you." Jonah blinked. "There wasn't anyone next to me." Mara slapped him. The sound was small inside the car. Jonah did not hit her back. He just held his cheek and stared at us like we had gone insane together. Then his eyes moved to the floor behind Evan. The fry bag was gone. So was Kellen's backpack. So was the dent in the seat cushion where he had been sitting. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands. I opened the photos from dinner. There we were in the booth at Braddock's. Evan, Mara, me, Jonah. 4 plates, 4 drinks, 4 people. No empty space where Kellen should have been. No blurred face, no red jacket. The booth looked complete without him. Mara kept saying, "No, no, no," in a voice that sounded younger every time. I searched my messages. The group chat was called Ridge Drive. 4 members, no Kellen, no phone number, no trace. Except I remembered him. Mara remembered him. Evan remembered him. Jonah did not. That was the second counting. Not bodies this time. Memory. The tunnel had taken 1 passenger, then started taking the shape of him from the world. We should have kept driving until sunrise. Instead, we argued on the turnout until the rain thinned and the road behind us filled with yellow light. At first, I thought another car was coming. Then I realized the light was not moving across the road. It was opening in the mountain. The tunnel entrance was behind us again. That was impossible. We had driven away from it for miles. There had been turns, grades, a creek bridge, a turnout. But there it was, framed in the rear windshield. Concrete arch, wet and black, yellow lights stretching inward. Evan whispered, "No." From inside the tunnel, someone honked. Once, then again. 2 short taps. Kellen used to do that when he pulled into someone's driveway. Mara opened the door. I caught her jacket, but she slipped out of it. She ran into the rain barefoot because her shoes were still under the dashboard. Evan went after her. Jonah shouted for them both. I stayed in the car for 1 second too long. That second is why I am still here. Mara reached the entrance first. She stopped just outside the line where yellow tunnel light touched the wet road. Kellen's voice came from inside. "Mara?" It was him, or it had learned him perfectly. Evan caught up and grabbed her arm. Then the tunnel lights went out. All at once. the mountain became a black mouth. When the lights came back, Mara and Evan were standing in the entrance. But they were not alone. Kellen stood with them, red jacket soaped, white sneakers bright under the yellow bulbs. He looked tired. He looked angry. He looked real. Mara started laughing and crying at the same time. Jonah leaned forward between the seats. "Who is that?" Kellen looked directly at the car, directly at me, and smiled like he knew I remembered. They came back together. Mara climbed into the passenger seat. Evan got behind the wheel. Kellen opened the rear door behind Evan and slid in, dripping rainwater onto the floor mat. Jonah stared at him with open terror. Mara turned around. "Say something." Kellen smiled wider. "What do you want me to say?" His voice was almost right. Almost is a terrible word when it is wearing your friend's face. Evan drove. No one suggested counting, but I did. Evan, Mara, me, Jonah, Kellen. 5. We reached the highway tunnel 20 minutes later. The real one, the safe one. Bright lights, green signs, traffic cameras, fresh paint. Evan said we had to go through. There was no other road down from the pass unless we turned back. Before we entered, Jonah whispered, "Count." His voice sounded broken. 1, Evan said. 2, Mara said. 3, I said. Jonah swallowed. 4. Kellen leaned forward between the seats. For a moment, I thought he would say 5. Instead, he said, "Again." The highway tunnel swallowed the car. This one had white lights, not yellow, smooth walls, emergency phones, painted arrows. Everything about it said safe, modern, maintained. Halfway through, the radio turned on by itself. Static filled the car. Under it, very faintly, a woman's voice said, "Roll call." Mara screamed at Evan not to stop. Kellen began to count. 1, he said. The lights flickered. 2. Jonah covered his ears. 3. The tunnel stretched, not visibly. Worse than that, the exit stayed the same size, the same distance away, no matter how long Evan drove. 4. I felt the seat beside me shift. There should not have been a seat beside me. I was behind Mara. Jonah was in the middle. Kellen was behind Evan. But there was pressure against my right shoulder, soft and cold, as if someone had squeezed into a space the car did not have. Kellen whispered, 5. A sixth voice directly beside my ear whispered, 6. We came out of the highway tunnel at dawn. That is what the police report says. A highway patrol officer found Evan's Subaru parked on the shoulder, engine running, hazard lights blinking, 4 people inside. Evan was in the driver's seat. Mara was beside him. Jonah was in the back. I was next to Jonah. Kellen was not there. There was no sign of him in the vehicle. No wet footprint, no backpack, no red jacket, no fry bag. The officer later told me we were lucky. He said driving exhausted through the mountain pass could have killed us. I asked him if there had been anyone else in the car. He frowned at me. Then he looked at the empty seat behind Evan. "There are 4 of you," he said. Mara did not speak for 3 days. Evan sold the Subaru. Jonah moved away before the end of summer, and when I called him a year later, He did not remember the drive at all. He remembered Mara's birthday. He remembered Braddock's diner. He remembered taking the normal highway home. He asked me if I was okay. I told him yes. I lied. Because every year on Mara's birthday, I get a message from a number that does not exist. No words, just a photo. The first year, it was the back seat of Evan's Subaru, empty. The second year, it was the service tunnel entrance in the rain. The third year, it was the inside of a car I had never seen before. 5 seats visible, all empty except for a red jacket folded behind the driver. This year, the photo came at 12:17 a.m. It showed the interior of my own car. My steering wheel, my dashboard, my passenger seat. In the rearview mirror, yellow tunnel lights stretched away behind me. The message under the photo had only 2 words: count again. So I did. Driver's seat, passenger seat, back left, back right, 4 seats. Then I looked at the photo one more time. There was a hand resting on the back of my passenger seat. Not mine, not anyone's I know. Just fingers, pale in the dashboard glow, curled lightly over the fabric as if someone in the back had leaned forward to listen. I deleted the photo. It came back. I blocked the number. It called. I did not answer. At 12:18, my car alarm went off outside. At 12:19, the headlights turned on. At 12:20, the horn tapped twice. 2 short taps, friendly, patient. Like someone had pulled into my driveway and wanted me to know they were waiting. I have not gone outside. I am sitting at my kitchen table with every light on, watching the clock move toward sunrise. I keep telling myself that the waitress said to drive until morning, and maybe morning is still a kind of road. But I can see my car through the window. The windows are fogged from the inside, and every few minutes, a finger draws a number in the glass. It started at 5, then 6, then 7. The last one was 8. I live alone. I have lived alone for years. But when the sun comes up, if I make it that long, I know what I will find in my driveway. 4 doors, 4 seats, and more passengers than I can count. So if you take Bellwether Pass and your map suggests an old service road under the mountain, do not argue with the warning. Do not count as a joke. Do not go back for the missing. And if someone in your car says the number wrong, keep driving. Keep driving until the sky is bright enough to prove how many shadows you brought with you. Because the tunnel does not only take passengers, it learns where the empty seats are.